and welcome to the third, fourth, wherever we are in the scale of things here on Diving In. This is Diving In with Josh. I am your host, Josh. This is the wrestling podcast that's not about wrestling, but instead about pro wrestling fans' lives outside of this wacky, wacky world of professional wrestling, and going through guest after guest and trying to make this show as interesting and as the best it can possibly be. One of the people that I wanted to chat with on this show, and near at the top of my list, I have sitting down with me virtually, of course, today, and that's one Omega Luke. Luke, how are you doing this fine day?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Very good. And yeah, virtually sat down across the other side of the world.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's how it's the internet is a strange place that we can just literally talk to each other from two different sides of the world. It is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But today we're gonna dive into something different, something maybe not many people know about Luke. But before we do that, we do have to talk a little bit of wrestling. Luke, you are in this wonderful, wonderful, weird world of wrestling in the terms of the podcasting stuff. For people that don't know who you are and don't know your show, give us a little rundown of what your show is.
Absolutely. So obviously, like yourself, I'm part of the Brainbuster family. So big ups to them. On Mondays, I normally release a podcast episode primarily based around fantasy booking. So normally two guests come on, like yourself. You've got one coming up in the very near future, indeed, where I give you a stipulation and you fantasy book how you would do that certain scenario or that certain person, or maybe the scenario is to pick someone from a company and fantasy book them how you would want to do it in regards to the stipulation. Obviously then I have both in one episode, put them against each other, and I determine which is the better one in my opinion. So yes, it's a good fun thing to do. I enjoy it. Every now and then I have some topical discussions, which I think is a little bit different, because I like to have a bit of variation every now and then. I think that's important to have a little bit of variation. But yeah, I do enjoy doing the topical discussions as well on important matters I think needs to be spoken about sometimes. So I've done intergender wrestling, is wrestling a sport, that sort of thing, and women's gimmicks, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's basically the long and short of what I do on Brainbuster Radio and on Omega Luke.
Yeah, I think at this point, I don't want to say where comfortable is a weird word. It can be weirdly interpreted, but we are pretty comfortable doing these kind of shows and talking about wrestling. I would say, I mean, you can speak on this as well, Luke, but you probably have a certain level of comfortability doing this at this point.
Yeah, I think, because I'm about the same as you, really, aren't I? Like coming up to a year in the sort of podcast world now. It's surprising how fast you sort of pick it up and how you sort of become natural at it, and it becomes more of a discussion rather than when I was first doing it. I used to write down everything I was going to say, like word for word, and read it like a script. And it may not have sounded like I was reading it like a script, because I always made sure I wasn't reading it like that. But now I sort of I turn the mic on and off I go, because you're just used to how you say things, and you're used to remembering what you need to say every episode, because it's just one of those things, isn't it? When especially when you're in a conversation, when you have people on, it's so much easier, I think. I genuinely don't know how people do podcasts where it's just them talking, because I struggled massively doing that. So
you and me both. You and me both. When I first kind of started, I was the same as you. I had everything structured and planned on pretty much everything I was going to say and when I was going to say it. And then doing the show on my own for as long as I did, I look back now and I'm like, how in the hell did I do that for as long as I did? Because, I've had a few episodes since Kevin has come on to Wrestling Reverb. I've had a few episodes where Kevin couldn't record at the same. We just couldn't get to a time, so I had to take the reins and do it on my own. And I'm like deer in headlights. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm on my own. I'm like, I need someone to talk to. So it is.
Yeah, I always felt like when I was doing it, I sounded like I was rambling.
Yeah.
And then when I'd listen to it back, I'm like, oh my God, I sound so boring. Like, who would listen to this? I just couldn't believe people were actually tuning in going, oh, great episode. I'm like, are you listening to the same thing I am? Because I sound boring.
Yeah, no, exactly the same. And I don't know if you did this. I've never asked you this, but when you first started and, your first maybe 3, 4, 5 episodes, I don't know about you, but I used to listen back to myself like instantly.
Oh, 100%.
And it was the weirdest experience because it's so unnatural to listen to yourself talk. Like, it's just weird. Everyone hates the sound of their own voice at some point in their life. They're like, I hate the way I sound. So, I mean, it's just so weird to me now that, I'm not really one now to listen back to my own stuff. Like, very rarely I'll go back and go, I need to see something that I did or whatever. But, I've just gotten used to listening to my own voice. I know that sounds kind of pompous of me, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same, mate. When I first started recording, I used to listen to my episode all the way through and like take out and edit it as much as I possibly could to like get the final product, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was very strange at first listening to yourself, but now whenever I listen to myself, maybe on one of my videos when I'm editing or when I'm editing the podcast, and I've got to do like my intro and outro, it just doesn't. In my head, it's just not me saying it. It sounds like someone else now because I'm just so used to hearing it. It's just like someone I've always listened to, which is very weird, very peculiar.
Yeah.
But that's how I sort of feel about it now. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's almost like, doing an intro and outro, and just so you know how to kind of segue into things, and it's almost like you're on autopilot. It just, you don't have to think about what you're saying. It just comes out of your mouth. But anyway, here on Diving In, we like to, as I stated, we like to talk about some things that, maybe people don't know about a person or know about me or whoever I'm speaking to. And today we want to let you guys in on a world outside of Luke's little wrestling world. And we've on this show, I don't really like to pre-screen too much about what we're going to chat about. So I like to learn about the topic, as the listeners do, because it's a fun time for me as well. That's why I kind of started this, was just to get to know the pro wrestling internet world maybe a little bit better. Just get to learn other sides. And Luke, you have a very different side, I guess in some ways it's very different to you, and I've been alluding to it, but I'll let you kind of take the reins about what I'm talking about and how this little journey all started, I guess, as you would say, a little beta Luke.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a bigger love of than wrestling throughout my life, and that is football or soccer for you Americans or wherever you are around the world who don't call it football.
I call it soccer. I call it soccer.
Hit it with your foot. So, but that's a different argument for another day. Over here, we call it football, and it's obviously our main sport. Like 90% of people play football or watch football who are young boys my age or attempt to, like I did. And yeah, I've had a very interesting life in football, and I suppose when we go into it a little bit further, I've got some really cool stories about like my family members, my dad and my granddad, and my great granddad also have incredible stories. So I won't give away too much yet, but it's all sort of like interlinks into it, and I've had some really good ups and some really, really low downs as well. But to start off with, when I was beta Luke, kicking a football as soon as I could walk. So having my first sort of team when you're 6, I suppose, I think was when I first had my team.
Little baby Luke.
Team. Exactly, yeah. It's for the biggest under 6s or under 7s team, whatever it was, in Plymouth, which is the city I'm from. They were called Plymouth Colts, so that was my first ever team. And funny enough, like I still probably best friends with about 2 or 3 of those players. So Damn. It's been a long journey. Yeah.
Damn. When you're a wee little one playing football and or playing sport in general, it's a lot to take in. I used to play tennis when I was a wee little one. I kind of stopped as I got to my teenage years because I wanted a job and I wanted money, and that was more important to me than playing sport. But when you're a little kid, it's everything as a little kid, I feel like, is just better. It is just better, and everything's larger than life. What kind of drew you to football? Was it your family's influence? Was it more so you just seen it on television? Did you see it around? What do you remember about what drew you into football?
So there's quite a few things, I suppose. It is the biggest sport over here, so it's on every news outlet. It's always on telly. But family members was probably the main reason, and a superstar named David Beckham, who played for my favourite team, Manchester United. I wanted to be him, and I idolised him. So he was like the person who I wanted to be like. But my dad was an incredible player, way better than I ever was. But I'll start a little bit further back. So his granddad, my great granddad, in the 1950s played for Aston Villa. So they're a Birmingham-based team, which is the second biggest city in England. He played for Aston Villa in the 1950s. And then my granddad, who also played, was in the Navy. So he moved to Gibraltar, which is, in case anyone doesn't know, it's like an island just off of Spain, but it's like it's part of the British Empire. It's part of England, really. And so he moved there with the Navy, and he played for a team called Glasgow United in the Gibraltar League. I only really found this out as well, like a few years ago. He's very closed person, was my granddad, and he never really spoke about it until he was sort of not very well anymore, and he passed on loads of things to me, and that was when I ended up finding out all this about him. But it was very strange. I knew he was a good player, but I didn't know he was this good. So Gibraltar has a league, and he was the top scorer of the league. He played for Glasgow United, won the league quite a few times. And England itself, as a country, had its best year in 1966 when we won the World Cup, the Football World Cup. About 2 years after that, England's football team went to Gibraltar to play against the Gibraltar national team, and my granddad was going to play for that team because at the time it wasn't really a national team, because Gibraltar was like I suppose it's like a sovereign state, sort of like Monaco. It's a sovereign state. It
was like off to the side almost.
Yeah, they just didn't really count it as a country, so my granddad could officially play for them. And so England were going to play a friendly against Gibraltar. So it was going to be the World Cup England team against Gibraltar. And as they were sort of at the stadium getting ready to play, an official came in and told my granddad, "You're not allowed to play because you're actually English." So he was pretty devastated by that. Couldn't get to play against the World Cup winning team. So
that
was pretty sad. Yeah. And I think in a way he always resented that. And fast forward into when my dad was a youngster, he was an incredible player, was on the books for quite a few professional teams, including my local team of Plymouth Argyle, played all the way through the youth academy and stuff like that, and reserve team. And he ended up getting released from Plymouth because my granddad was a bit of a nasty bloke, wouldn't take him to any training, wouldn't take him to the away games or nothing like that. So my dad sort of missed a lot of training, missed a lot of matches, and in the end became a liability, I suppose, for Plymouth Argyle, and ended up getting released, which is a massive shame because, like I say, he was an incredible player. And I remember as a youngster seeing my dad play at like 35, 38, and he was still unbelievable and like was running youngsters ragged. Yeah, it's like I'm 26 now. I'm coming to the end of my career because of injuries and stuff. My dad was like over 10 years older than me, and he was incredibly gifted and a lot better than what I am at my age now. It's scary. But yeah, that's sort of like how I got into it, I suppose, watching my dad play.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to play, but I mean, me and my friends growing up, a lot of like youngsters like get bikes, didn't they, and go out together on their bikes. It was me and my friends, we had a football all the time, and we just didn't care where it was. We used to play up garages if it was raining. We'd play up in the garages. If it wasn't, we'd go to grass pitches. But it was always football, nothing else. We weren't interested in girls until we were a lot older. Weren't interested in bikes, skateboards, nothing like that. It was always football.
It is weird when you're a kid, and it doesn't take much to, not saying that this wasn't much, but it doesn't take much to kind of occupy your brain. Because I was the kind of same, as I kind of said before, with tennis. I remember being 6, 7, 8, whatever, and all I needed was a tennis racket, a tennis ball, and the side wall of outside of the house. And I'd just play tennis over, like, just hours, just boom, boom, boom. And it is weird how, you know, doing that kind of now, I would probably get bored within 5 minutes, because I think the world has just changed, and I mean, everyone has such a short attention span. But not only that, I guess as you're older, things don't occupy your brain like they used to when you're a kid. But back to kind of your story with this, and you know, you said correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you were about 6 when you first started to play.
Yeah.
So growing up as a kid, you know, between 6 and 10, before you were a teenager at least, did you kind of stick at this? Was this something that in your brain, even as a kid, were you like, I'm going to do this for quite a while? Or is it more so your parents being like, you're playing this?
No, it was all me. Like, if I didn't want to do it, my mum and dad would not have let me do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the simple things. My mum and dad were very supportive. They always have been, of me and my sister. My sister's gone through so many different sports because she's just gifted at all of them. And as soon as she gets bored of one, she'll take up another and then master it. She's just very good. Gymnastics, diving, running. She's been very good at all of them. Whereas for me, it was always football. I tried karate, didn't really like it. Tried taekwondo, wasn't very good at it. I only started kicking people when they hurt me, so I wasn't exactly a very good taekwondo player.
Yeah, that's not the best.
Yeah, exactly. So other sports just didn't interest me like football did. It was always I wanted to play, and if I missed a match, I was gutted, and that is why when I've got older, it's become a lot more harder with injuries, and it's tough to take when you're either not picked or can't be picked because of injuries, knowing that you're missing a game. I don't care what I was doing. I could be at a friend's wedding and I've missed a game, and all I could be thinking about during that wedding was, I wonder how the boys are getting on. Because
that's when you know you have a passion for something.
Yeah, and like when the difference is as well, like when you are playing with a team and it's the same sort of players every year, they become like it's like our Brainbuster family.
Yeah.
Like they become like your really close friends, to the point where you're really like invested in how that team is.
Yeah.
And there's certain teams that I've played for as well, which I've become even more invested because of why the teams were invented. So my biggest men's team that I've played for, well, yeah, I suppose it's the biggest men's team I've played for, is called Hedges FC. The reason why they're called Hedges FC and the reason why they were formed was a few of my close friends from school had a friend called James Hedges. He was a very talented player at a semi-professional level, and on a way back from a football match, he had a car crash. Wasn't his fault, and he sadly passed away. So they created this team in his name with his dad, who was a big like important bloke in regards to Southwestern football, which is my region, Southwest of England. He was a big important guy, and so everyone knew him and everyone knew the impact it had on him. So all of my friends, they created this team, Hedges. I joined halfway through their first year, at the end of the season, and played for them all the way up until this season. And sadly, they are no longer. Well, funny enough, the day that we were talking about this, yesterday, the day before we were recording, I played against them in their final ever match.
Hell.
Yeah,
Full
it's very,
circle.
very good. Yeah, they've got a charity match which I'm playing in. It's like a current team versus a Legends team. So I'm playing in that one. But I played against them in their last ever match yesterday. So it's bit peculiar, really. But that's like the thing, like in regards to, it means a lot more because it was for James and getting James's name on a trophy, which we have done. So that's always a good thing.
People don't often, I mean, at least people that aren't involved with team-based sports don't often see that there is a family effect on the players. Or whatever you kind of involved in sport-wise, it is very much a similar bond than a family. And I don't think people talk about that enough. I think there is I don't know, I think with sport, the general consensus is that there is a stigma against that, I guess. I guess it goes away more as the world kind of evolves. But people don't think about that enough, and it is a good point to bring up that there is more to what you just do on the field or whatever sport you're playing. But as you kind of, going into your teenage years and growing up, if you did, when did you kind of think, this is something I really want to do? As in, like, I really feel like I can do more with this. Was there ever a time that you would more so, I want to play professionally, and just, did you ever have that in your brain and you're like, I want to make a career out of this?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was the dream for every kid in England who plays football. That's the dream, is to become a professional football player. Over here, we see them on telly every week, kicking a ball around, doing what they love, and they are their highest paid athletes. Some of them in the world. I mean, my team, Manchester United, some of their players are on £500,000 a week, and they are sat on the bench, not even playing. So that's the dream. You're going to make a lot of money out of it. Yeah. And doing what you love doing every day, and playing, especially if you manage to get to play for your favorite club, which is obviously a huge bonus. Yeah. So growing up, I always wanted to do that. Whether I thought I could ever get to it was probably when I turned about 14, 15, I eventually got scouted for my local teams. So there's a few local teams around the area. And there's a very weird system down in the southwest because we are very far away from London and places like that where there's so many teams. It's very easy to get spotted if you're a very good player. Down here, it's not so much. There's a place called Exeter, a place called Torquay, and Plymouth, where I'm from. That's really it until you go about 3 hours away. Yeah. And those teams aren't exactly high in the leagues. They're not like a Premier League club. In the top division, there's a lower down league, so you sort of go through different things down here. It's like league reps, so you represent the whole league, which I did a couple of times. Schoolboys, so Devon Schoolboys, I did that once, which was interesting because growing up I played many different positions. Yep. Left winger, which was my position when I was like in my teenage years, even though I'm right-footed, which was always peculiar. Oh. It was just where I got played. Yeah, I just don't know why. They just put me there because I used to be quite fast and I used to just cut in on my right foot and be very unexpected. I played different positions for Devon reps. I played in the defence, which is not my position at all. So it never worked out for me that way. And then I had a couple of different scouts and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until I turned 16 and I left school, I played for my sixth form team. And primarily the sixth form team was based of 18-year-olds who were in their final year of sixth form or their third year of sixth form because they failed one of the years, so they stayed another year. There was only two people who was, I suppose, like freshmen, how Americans say it, I suppose. I was in my first year of sixth form. There was only two of us who played for that sixth form team, and we went on to play in the National Cup for sixth form teams, and we played against some professional teams. We did very well. We got to the semi-final, missed out in an extra time goal, so that was very gutting. But from that, my teacher, who was the manager, played. Well, no, he managed a semi-professional team in our area, Saltash, they were called. And he said to me, come along, because I was just turned 16 as well. I'm a July baby, so September, when the school year starts, I've just turned 16, so it was very, very new. I then went along to the men's team, Saltash, at the age of 16, played for the thirds, did very well halfway through the season, went up to the seconds because they needed a striker, because I played up front at this point. So I was the goal scorer. I scored a few goals for the thirds to put me up to seconds. Then I remember it really well. I had a phone call. It was a Thursday. I had a phone call from the manager of the first team for Saltash, and he rung me and he is this Luke? So I said, yeah. He goes, my name's Steve. I been watching you play for the seconds. Would you be interested in playing for the first tonight? So I knew who he was, obviously, because they're all interlinked, and you know when you're playing for the second stuff, you want to play for the first, so you know who they are.
You study up.
I've watched a few of their games as well. So I was like, yeah, definitely. So it was, well, we got a game tonight. Our striker is injured, and I want you to play. So long story short, they play at a stadium called Kimberley Stadium. It's quite a nice ground. Can hold probably up to about 1,000 people if they really crammed everyone in around the side of the pitches if they wanted to. But that night was about 300. Yeah. So it was pretty good crowd. It was a tough game. I scored. I remember scoring, and I just couldn't believe it. It was very lucky. I didn't play very well at all, but I scored. And my dad used to always say to me, as a striker, because he was a striker as well, doesn't matter if you have a bad game, as long as you get on the score sheet, you've done your job. So, at the same time, if I wasn't working my ass off, he'd be shouting at me. So it was swings and roundabouts. My dad didn't quite know what he wanted from me, to be honest. But yeah, that night was my first semi-professional game. So I got £15 for that. So it's my first dollar, I suppose, that I got from playing football. So the dream was alive.
Living the big time there. Yeah, did you spend it all at once?
Yeah, exactly. Did I save any pennies for the weekend? That was the question. But it was, and then from that, I'll go straight into it.
Go for
about 3 games after, we were playing against a really tough team who were top of the league. And as I ran through, someone clattered me. My foot hit the bottom of his at full pelt as I was swinging for the ball. Massive snap, like huge snap. Went down on the ground, and I don't know whether it's weird. I don't know whether I passed out or it was because I had so much pain. I don't remember sort of what happened.
Yeah.
It was one of those situations. I just remember my foot hitting the bottom of his. I flipped over, and then the next thing I remember is I was surrounded by the physios, my dad who had run on the pitch, because my dad had the reason why my dad stopped playing is he had a really serious leg break.
Oh.
Which I remember.
Just so everyone's kind of aware, sorry to butt in, Luke. How old were you at this point?
So I was coming up to 17.
Okay, so you were still, you're fairly young, and you probably at that point have never really had too much of an injury with anything, or
never. I missed, and this is the God's honest truth. I think I missed 2 games all the way through my youth, playing for my youth team, which was a team called Tamerton Foliot. Yep. I missed 2 games. One was because I misbehaved at home, and my mum, as punishment, didn't let me play, which I was devastated with.
I was going to say, you probably would have been pissed.
Yeah, and the second one was we went on holiday, and I was devastated that I was missing a game then as well. That's how bad it was. But
damn, you love that. You must love it.
Yeah, exactly. Sunny Spain, or stay at home all week and then play football on the weekend. There was only one option for me, staying at home. But yes, I only ever missed 2 games. I never had an injury growing up. It was just one of those things. There's people around me, some of my friends were seriously injury prone. Just never had that. Oh. I used to take knocks and stuff, but it never stopped me from playing.
Oh.
And then as soon as I had the crack, I thought, that's it, my leg's broken. I looked down, my shin pad was out of my sock.
Oh.
I had people surrounding me and asking if I was okay. I was a bit like taken back. And I heard my dad sort of like have a sigh of relief and say, right, it's not a break, it's not a break. What had actually happened was I had damaged all the ligaments in my foot, all the tendons at the top of my foot, and I did break my metatarsal.
Oh.
So that's like the top of the top of your foot.
Yeah.
I broke that bone there. That put me out of playing for 8 months before I could kick a ball.
Ooh.
8 months. Yeah.
Now, from just like I said at the start of this show, I don't know really anything about your kind of story here, but just from the last 20 minutes that we've been talking, I could already tell 8 months has been 10 years, because a day at that point was too long. So I could imagine in your brain, you probably wouldn't be too thrilled.
No, because it's weird. Like it's something that I did every weekend, and when the season ended on a Saturday, I'd go out and play football with my friends.
Yeah.
So it never stopped. But for probably about 4 months, I still had a limp because of the break and stuff. And the weird thing is, because it was metatarsal, I didn't have a cast. So in my head, when you see like people who break their foot or break their ankle and stuff, they've got a cast, they're on crutches.
They look injured.
They look injured. I don't. I'm just hobbling, and it made it worse for me. I'd rather have had the cast. I'd rather have had everything, and sort of say, I had all that, and this is the reason why I can't play. But I didn't have that. It was very hard for me to understand. And once the breakage was fine with the metatarsal, I tried getting back and playing too early, and as soon as I made contact with a ball at the top of my foot, it was just instant pain because of the ligaments. They just don't know whether they didn't form correctly around my foot back or repaired properly or anything like that. But once the breakage was healed, I just couldn't do it because of the ligaments.
Yeah.
So from that was my like semi-professional side of things over. Like I never got paid to play football again. From that, and I didn't actually play men's football again for about 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, when you growing up, this is all you wanted to do. This was your dream. You probably put every bit of your effort that you had in any spare time into making this become real, making it become a reality. And what goes through your brain when you heal? What goes through your brain when you just can't do what you love? Because it must take a lot out of you emotionally at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I think at that time as well, I was working at a KFC, so this didn't help. But I put on like 4 stone. I would too, by the way. KFC is amazing. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I still love it now after working there for like 3-4 years. But yeah, I absolutely ballooned in size, and eventually I'd start playing like 5-a-side football with a couple of friends, but it's never serious.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up getting back into it until I really met my wife, and I sort of said to her, I want to play men's football again, and a very local team in the area of Plymouth started up a brand new team, and that's when I finally got back into it. But that was a long time. But as soon as I got back into it, I had at the time I didn't really see it as one, but I had quite a life-threatening injury. So I was playing, because when I broke my foot, I lost all my speed. So I was no longer very fast at all. And my friends now joke about how slow I actually am. It is ridiculously how slow I am, because I can't run using the balls of my feet anymore. I run flat-footed because of how bad the injury was in my foot.
So very unnatural to do.
Yeah. And makes you incredibly slow. It really does.
It would. I don't even think of that. Like it would. I'm just planting my feet on the ground now, and I'm like, oh, that would slow me down a lot.
Yeah. And because now it's like my natural thing, I probably could, if I trained myself to do it, I probably could run on the tips of my toes again. but because I couldn't put that much pressure on that part of your foot, I just couldn't do it. So I always used to run flat-footed. That's why I'm incredibly slow now. But I got dropped back position, so I moved a little bit further back. And I jumped up in the air once to header a football, and someone come in the back of me, and their knee hit the side of my thigh. So at the time, it was just a bit of a dead leg. So it was my own player as well. A bit of a dead leg. Carried on playing. That was that. About 3 weeks later, I was still in so much pain from this dead leg, and my whole leg was now like quite numb from it, and the bottom of my leg was hurting and everything like that. So I thought, what is going on here? So I went to the doctors, and when I spoke to the doctor, he immediately was like, right, we need to get you to the hospital. You've got a blood clot. So I was sort of taken back, like, what?
Holy shit.
What had basically happened was the impact of his knee that went into the side of my thigh caused to have a blood clot in my thigh. And obviously where your veins are, like that vein went all the way down to your calf, then that goes straight to your heart.
Yeah.
From that. So it traveled down in my calf. That was where the clot was. It was in my calf. And from that, he was like, you need to get this like removed immediately. So that was like scary, and I had to stop playing for a while then as well.
Well, it would be scary when you're... Obviously, that's not something you're expecting. I mean, you're probably just thinking, I have a sore leg. I need to go to the doctor to get something to make this stop hurting. When those words come out of his mouth, I mean, I've never been in a situation, knock on wood, like that ever. What kind of goes through your brain? How old are you at this point, too? You're
20 or 21.
Okay.
I think I was 21. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't playing at a high standard or anything, but it was still like I finally got back into football, and then 2 months later, that happened, and it was just like, not again, like because that was quite scary. And I could tell because I've had that doctor for a long time at this point, and like, you know, when you go to the doctors and you feel like you're just wasting their time.
Yes.
They're just not bothered by it. Like when you go in for a cold and they're like, I'll get you like antibiotics or whatever.
Yeah, and they just write it down. They're like, yep.
They do not care, do they? But this time his like whole facial expression changed as soon as like he examined me, and he was like already on the phone to the hospital or the ambulance, because I got picked up in like a weird like ambulance car. It was like a sudden thing, and I thought, oh crap, like this is serious.
Well, you would, because when you hear the words blood clot, you would probably, well, not even when you hear those words, it probably goes from literally one extreme to the other, because you're probably just sitting in a doctor's office going, okay, and then all of a sudden you're in a weird ambulance car and you're going, oh shit, I have a blood clot, this is pretty serious.
Yeah, like I genuinely thought it was just a dead leg, and I thought maybe, I don't know what he was going to do. I genuinely didn't. I just thought it's a bit peculiar. It's taking this long. So I thought it was going to be a case I'd go in there and just be wasting his time again, and they give me antibiotics or whatever, and that'll be that. But yeah, thank God I ended up going and making the decision to go. Because I might not be sat here right now. If I left it a couple more days, it could have traveled to my heart.
May I ask why it took you... Well, you said 3 weeks, roughly, that it took you to get to the doctor. What made you wait? Was it just more so waiting for the dead leg to go away? What was the point when you're going at 3 weeks after this happened, going, this is still hurting, I'm numb in my leg? What was was there a point where you're like, okay, I have to go to the doctor now? Or was it more so just time had passed, so you probably should go and get this checked out?
Yeah, I was used to getting dead legs. Playing football, you always get dead legs, and they'd normally pass within a week. I played the next week, and like I was limping before, but as soon as you start running, the adrenaline kicks in, just takes you through it. That's true. And then as soon as after, you think, oh my God, how did I play? And then you can barely walk again. And then it was like 3 weeks later, and I remember this is where it's blurry. I can't remember whether it was when I met my wife or just before I met my wife, but I remember like tossing and turning in bed, and whatever way I was laying, that leg was just like numb, and it felt like I had just got on the dead leg, and I thought, this has been like 3 weeks now. There must be something more than just a dead leg, or why can't I shake this dead leg? Like, the bruising was gone and everything, which made me think it can't be the dead leg, because obviously the dead leg is where you'd see bruising from it, because it's basically where you have like a small bleed on the inside of your leg. Really, I think that's what a dead leg sort of is.
Yeah.
And then when it was like the rest of my leg as well, I thought, this can't be right. So that is really what made me go.
Yeah, because I've never been in that kind of situation before, but, fast forwarding to when you're actually, going to the hospital, what's going through Luke's head at this point? Because you must be going, shit, this is a blood clot. You can literally die from a blood clot. I would be shitting my pants, to be honest with you, but were you calm? Or was it just going so fast that you didn't really have time to react?
I think that was that, yeah. It was going so fast. All I was thinking about was, how long is this going to keep me out of playing if I get through this? Like, genuinely, because I knew that they would sort it there and then. Like, I trusted that it would, and all I had to do was take warfarin tablets. Thankfully, I didn't have to have the surgery, because when I got up there, they examined it more, and I had like a scan, so they could see into my leg. Whereas, like, obviously at the doctor's, he just, from examining me, looking at it,
worst case scenario kind of deal.
Yeah. I think you've got a blood clot. So yeah. When I went up there, it was literally just a case of, they gave me warfarin, and then I had to go back up a few days later and just make sure it had definitely gone.
Yeah.
But like, if it wasn't, and I had to have the surgery to get it removed, that could have been a lot longer. Could have been out for a while, but I didn't play, I don't think, for about a month after, even with the warfarin, because my leg I just couldn't feel anything. It was just so numb. So I just thought, just leave it. And I didn't want to do what I did last time, go back too early, make it worse.
Yeah.
So I just left it.
Did you, when you originally got your first injury, when you said you were about 17, did you know in your brain then that this dream that you had was probably not going to become a reality at that point? Or were you still like, nothing's really going to stop me? At that point, at least.
Nah, instantly knew. Yeah. As soon as I went to, because I met my uncle's an ambulance driver.
Yeah.
So he's also obviously a trained paramedic. So when I went to the doctors with my broken foot and my metatarsal and my the ligaments and stuff, I could see by the look on his face, he knew it was quite serious.
Yeah.
And me being that young and only just breaking into semi-professional football, like, in my head it was like, keep believing it's going to happen, that sort of thing. You just don't know. You never know. Because normally people get picked up at a younger age than 17 for like the big clubs. They normally go through the whole academies. But on occasion, people who have just been missed through the thing, or they just miraculously get better as they turn 16, 17 because of puberty, and they gain a muscle mass which makes them a better player, that sort of thing. They can get picked up at an older age, and that was what I was still hoping for. As soon as that happened and I knew I'd be out for like 3-4 months at least, I knew there was just no way I'd be able to get back into playing as good as what I was, and I never did. And I think as well, during the 3 years that I stopped playing, I ended up putting my back out at the age of like 19.
Oh.
And it was, so I still suffer with sciatica now. And when I do my warm up, I need to take like another 5 to 10 minutes whilst everyone else is kicking the ball. And it looks like I'm praying, because I like go down into like a seated position and like just stretch my back, because I just can't run. And it's quite bad. Like, I always suffer with bad back still. But yeah, I did that as well. And it was just all the culmination of that. It was just, there's no way I'd ever get to the opportunity to play at a good level again.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Yeah. What is, you talked about your dad being, I'm assuming he would have been fairly involved with your, growing up playing football, and he would have been probably there every step of the way. Does that, in your head, kind of, going, this is not only what I kind of wanted, but it's what my dad wants as well, because he knows that, he knew that you wanted it. So when that happens, and when you kind of think in your brain, okay, this is probably not something I'm going to be able to do anymore, does that affect your kind of relationship with him? Or does it more so, give you a kind of, I guess, shoulder to lean on, in the sense that I'm probably not going to be able to do this anymore?
No, I've been very lucky with my mum and dad. Like, they've always supported me. If I had football tournaments, like sometimes I'd have to go up to London and have a football tournament, they would take the weekend off. They would go up and pay a lot of money for us to stay in hotels and stuff, on the off chance that when I was up there, I got spotted or something like that. Because in these football tournaments when I was growing up as a teenager, we get an opportunity to, because we were like one of the best teams in Plymouth, in Devon, sorry, we would get the opportunity to play up in London, and represent Plymouth, not as Plymouth, the actual football team, but represent the area.
Yeah.
And, they would take the weekend off. They'd spend a lot of money on hotel rooms. They were always very supportive. My dad was 9 times out of 10, all the teams that I played for, he was involved in some sort of way, because they knew he was a good player. He was very, not famous. He was well known as a good player in our area.
Well respected.
So managers of other teams, managers of my teams knew who he was. Chances are they probably played against him and remembered him. So they'd always ask him to get involved and that sort of thing. And because my dad had such a bad upbringing from his dad, and the opportunities that was lost because of my granddad, sort of resenting my dad being probably better than him and having the opportunities. My dad made sure it was never the case for me. And if I was ever going to be good enough, my dad was going to force it to happen and be always along the way to help it happen. He would never prevent it one bit. And unfortunately, I was never quite good enough to do it, because I think there was probably nothing more. My dad's quite a closed book, so he doesn't really say a lot of emotional things. But I've always imagined that my dad would be like, there'd be nothing more happier for him to see me play at a good level, definitely. And I don't feel like I disappointed him, or he's never made that, because he still comes and watches my matches now.
Well, that's good.
And we laugh about how bad I actually have become. Because when I was younger, he was full of praise and always encouragement. He always used to say the things I did wrong, but the main thing about my dad, he used to tell, and my confidence was always so high, because he'd tell me everything that I was good at over and over and over again. So, and I think that is why my dad was such a good player, because he obviously had the same mentality. And why really my dad is probably a very good manager at his whack, because he probably has, and I suppose you can relate it to anything, which is probably why he's like this. He always highlights the good side of things. And as a player in any sport, probably wrestling and everything like that, if you play to your strengths, you look a lot better than what you are, because you're hiding your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think I was always very good and very confident, because he always used to do that. Now, when I'm a little older and I'm slower and I'm nowhere near as good, I can't do the things I used to when I was 16, 17. We laugh that I can't turn. When I'm turning, it looks like moving a fridge or something like that, or my pace is completely gone. We laugh about it now because it's funny, but and he still comes and watches. But it's never been the case of feeling like I disappointed him or something.
That's always good to hear, because you hear around of things like that with parents and whatever, or just people in general. You don't want to ever have that. There's nothing worse than feeling like you've let someone down. It's one of the worst feelings you can do, whether it's parents, friends, family, whatever it may be. But that's just a terrible feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But moving into like, you said you're 26 now and you just play and you aren't as good as one was when he was 16. But how does it kind of, do you ever get in those states of mind where you're like, man, like I didn't really, as a kid, I didn't expect to be 26 and not doing this, like what you kind of worked your whole kind of childhood and teenage years towards. Does it ever kind of get to you that you're not doing what you do, or do you feel like just everything kind of happens for a reason? Not to sound cliche.
No, I it's sort of both. Like I've always been the thing of everything happens for a reason, but at the same time, as a kid, because I used to watch my dad play when he was 35, coming up to 40, I just thought I'd be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Whereas because of like injuries and stuff like that, when I play a game of football, my body takes so long to recover that all of the teams that I've played for, they allow me to not go training but still play on the weekends, because they know if I go to training I am useless because I can barely move.
Yeah.
I'm not too bad today because the game I played yesterday I didn't really do much in, and I only played about an hour. Because it was just the last game of the season, so we were just giving everyone a chance and everything like that. And I was against my old team, so I didn't really bother putting in too much of an effort. But when I used to take it proper seriously, like a couple of years ago, if I used to play Saturday, Sunday for the weekend, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'd be a write-off. Could not do anything.
Yeah,
could barely walk. I'd be struggling. My back would be hurting. My legs would be aching. And then I'd feel fully recovered on Friday. Same again, back to it Saturday, Sunday. So that was always like a thing that happened for me that I was quite used to.
Yeah.
From when I got older and stuff. And I think I always pictured me playing in my 30s, and I just know that's just not going to be a reality. This may be my last year. I might have played my last proper game of football. I don't really know yet. I don't really know what I'm going to do in the next couple of months for pre-season. I haven't really told my team that yet. They still expect me to be there next year and stuff like that. I don't really know. There's certain things I want to try and do, like with wrestling.
Yeah.
I want to try and do some training for wrestling. That's on the same day as the football. So if I did one, I couldn't do the other. So that's something that I may look into. So it may be a chance that I never play again, which is a weird feeling, definitely, because like I say, you pictured doing it. But I know, like, I'm really close to a guy who plays for our team. He is 46 years of age.
Hell.
He is an unbelievable player. I've seen like newspaper clippings and that of him have his team at very good high levels of semi-professional football. They won 9-0 and he scored 9 goals. So he is an incredible player. He's called Dave Lloyd. I'm really close to him. He's 46 years of age and he's still playing. And every season he says at the end of the year, I'm retiring. That's it. And as soon as it gets to August, he gets the bug again and wants to play, and he will play again. And I hope I'm not like that, because my body couldn't take it like he does, because he played at a very good level till he was like 40. So it's never going to happen for me. But but yeah, he's like a ridiculously good player for that age.
Does that make you kind of, you talk about you want to try some other things, whether it be, something with wrestling or whatever it may be that's going on in your brain, but does that make you kind of think of, in a weird sense, in some kind of weird way, football will always be there? Does that kind of make you think that? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I always want it to be, I always watch it anyway. Yeah. So in that sort of sense of mind, whether I ever get involved in like local football and management things and stuff like that, I very much doubt it. I do not like hassle. Like, really, I'm such a lazy person. I couldn't even organise my own five-a-side team. That used to stress me out, trying to get 5 players every week. Nah. Imagine doing that every weekend and trying to get 11 players. It'd just be not a chance would I ever... Yeah, not a chance would I ever want to do that. I've seen the struggles that my the team that are folding in for James Hedges, the struggles that they've had the last couple of years, with like trying to field teams and stuff like that, the stress of it, trying to get players to pay fines and stuff like that, the money side of it, it's just not easy. It's not, and I just never want to get involved in stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it might be a case that I just enjoy football just for watching it and not being involved once I sort of hang up my boots, I suppose, and pursue something else which occupies my time.
Yeah, and I guess, we've kind of covered everything that, from your time starting to your time kind of, phasing it out. But I guess you can be as honest about this answer as you want to be, but do you feel fulfilled, or do you always have that in the back of your head that this could have been something more?
So I'm really glad you actually asked that question, because it reminded me of a point that I wanted to say, which is the exact answer to it. When I was growing up, I won like league titles and cups and stuff. When I went to men's football, I never won anything. So I always had 2 goals in mind when I was playing men's football, because I'd done it in like as a youngster.
Yeah.
So when I got back to playing men's football, and I knew I wasn't as good, I always wanted to win a trophy. I wanted to always win a cup final. I was never really bothered about league titles. It was, if I got them, great, but I was never really like, at the end of the season, we didn't win the league. Fair enough. But cup competitions are always a big one for me. I always wanted to win a cup. I always wanted to have a big cup final. And the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be top goal scorer of the league that I was in. So, because that's like the big thing for the striker. If you're if you're the best striker in the league, because you've got the most goals. So for me, that was always a big thing. And then 2 years ago, I was probably at the best I've ever been in regards to men's football. So since the injury,
yeah,
I did both in 1 year. So I played on Saturdays in the Cornwall League, and I was the top goal scorer of the league. I had 20 goals in 20 games. And I've got the screenshot to prove it as well. So I will savour that just to prove it. And then on Sundays for my other team, we won the Devon Cup, which is so Devon and Cornwall are 2 regions right next to each other. Plymouth's like sort of right on the cusp of Devon, but Cornwall is literally like a 10-minute drive away. So I could play for both. So Sundays we won the Devon Cup, which is a very big like trophy for men's football. Really is, to say that you're the best Sunday team in Devon. It's quite good. It's about 160 teams, I think, something like that in that league, in that sort of cup tournament. So that's pretty special. And then to get the top goal scorer in the other league was quite fulfilling as well. So I've done both of things. So I would say I'm fulfilled. Like this year, the teams that I've played for, one of them won the treble, but I played like 3 games at the start of the year for a team, and then because of work, I can no longer play on Saturdays. They've gone on and won the treble, so they've won 2 cup competitions and a league trophy. So technically, I have won a league. I'm not claiming it because I only played 3 games at the start of the season. But I'm part of that team. I will hold that as I've done it. But I can't really claim it.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. But this year, like I'm just playing for the fun of it now. Like I fulfill what I wanted to do a couple of years ago. I don't take it very seriously anymore. I play for fun, for mental health, I think, as well. It's important to entertain myself, keep myself mentally healthy. I think playing sport is a massive deal into that, because I know me and you have both spoke about mental health before.
Yes.
Football is a big factor, I think, in my mental health, as is the 46-year-old in my team. Every year when he struggles with anxiety and stuff like that, football helps him. So I think doing that keeps me healthy and sane, and just enjoying it and having a kick around and seeing friends. Like I don't take it too seriously anymore. I don't argue as much as what I used to, because I used to be a little shit on the pitch. Used to argue with referees and stuff like that, and square up to people and try and be Billy Big Bollocks, but I don't do that at all now. If there's a fight going on in the game, I'm just stood there, just chatting to someone, just saying, I don't turn up on a Sunday for fights or anything like that anymore.
It's Sunday. So, no one wants to fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like yesterday, because the team I joined is like a very big rivalry with the team that I left. It was like got very heated and everything, and they were all confronting each other, and I just couldn't be asked. I just stood there. I didn't care what the result was going to be. I just play for fun now. So if I did retire at the end of the season properly, I'd feel fulfilled. I think definitely.
That's a good thing, especially from, like we chatted last hour or so about, is that you work so hard for it. A lot of people could really get down off of a situation like that and really probably knock themselves for it. But it seems like you've just kind of taken it and, everything does happen for a reason, and whatever kind of happens, and, whatever you decide to do, if you play more, if you don't, it was all kind of extra on top of it anyway. So, I mean,
I think it's priorities as well, isn't it? It's,
exactly.
I've got to the age now where I've got a wife, we're moving house, so I need a job, and I'm focusing on that and trying to make those things better. Moving house, trying to change a job into a better one, keeping, and having, maybe looking at making a family soon.
Yeah.
Me and my wife are ready to do that. So it's priorities and things like that now. I'm not bothered about. I've done the winning the league and winning cup competitions and stuff, which as well it was quite good. The cup that we won, the Devon Cup, they decided to film it, the league. So I've got the video. I've edited it so I can show you guys, because I know Wilfred, who wanted me to talk about this today. He wanted to see it, so I've edited the video for him. So you can all see it, and I actually score as well, so that's a nice little added touch as well. But they like streamed it live, and at one point there was 2,000 people watching live.
Heck,
yeah, 2,000 people from across the world was watching me in a cup final. Damn. And they're like on the comments and at the commentary when they're talking about it, there's people watching who knew my name. And was supporting me and said, because it was the same season that I was top goal scorer of the league, so I had already got the top goal scorer of the league. This was a different competition in a different region. There was someone in Singapore who knew my name and said, I'm tipping Luke Robinson to score a hat-trick today. I thought that was mental.
What the hell? You must be just doing cartwheels in your brain at that point.
I couldn't believe it. Like, we watched it back after, and I was like, how the hell is that, like, a thing? But, yeah, at one point, 2,000 people was watching live. I think in total, that video has been watched 9,000 times. It's the last time I checked. Ordered it, yeah.
Just that alone must make you go, I done what I needed to do with this. Like, I'm fine with whatever's happened. I guess the last question I have for you is that if there's a 17-year-old girl or boy in whatever sport they are doing and something like that they have been working towards, and that's their dream to be in whatever profession they're going in, whatever sport in this case, and they had some form of an injury and they were a bit like, what the hell am I going to do? What would you say to them? Knowing what you know now, what would you say to that 17-year-old kid with an injury like that?
Genuinely, I think it's important to never give up, because you might not have the situation that I had where it affects you to that point. It may be if I was a different type of person, I could have overcome that injury and get back to playing at a high level. Definitely. Like, I don't focus on my fitness at all now. Whereas at one point when I did, I was top goal scorer of the league and I won the Devon Cup. And that is when I took care of my health. I was going to the gym. I was looking after myself, eating healthily. Dropped like 2 stone in 2 months to focus on being better. And it made me a better player. And like I say, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Not at the level I wanted to when I was younger. But so never give up. That is one thing. John Cena says it. Never give up. Other thing though, if it is too far out of your reach, never stop playing it. So like you can still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You might not be at the highest level, but you can still enjoy it. That is really important, because there's a reason why you played that sport or did that thing to begin with before you realize that you were really good at it, because you enjoyed it. So always keep on playing. Other things as well is it's not the end of the world. Like, these things happen. It just sometimes it's just not your time. It's not your right place to do it. Find other things that you can prioritize or entertain you and that sort of thing. I think that's really important. And it's something that I definitely did growing up from that. But just do it to enjoy it. Let's
suck the fun out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Never make it so it's like the end of the world for you, I think. Because I never did, and I just enjoy playing it now.
Yeah,
I think that's the most important thing.
Which is a good thing, because as much as we all have loves and passions and whatever, but no matter what, when it relates to, how I can relate to it is wrestling. And wrestling, as everyone knows, is a big love of yours as well, Luke, and mine. But it is a very small section of our lives, and there's so much more important stuff than wrestling, or than, in your case, football. There is, and not to, put it on a small scale, of course it was a huge passion and love for you, but there's 100,000 other things going on in your life, and it's just a little chapter. And if anything, if it makes you feel any better and any more fulfilled, this is quite the story, because I didn't know any of this, and now I feel like I've weirdly been on a weird journey of your life. And I guess that's kind of one way to look at it. It makes for a good story.
When I spoke, I like, obviously the reason why we're sort of like speak about this, because I thought Wilfred was joking when he said about it. He wanted to hear like my football career in like speech marks career, because it's hardly a career, but I genuinely have a lot of like interesting stories that I think maybe people never really have gone through, or gone through similar paths in different stuff. And it is a weird one when looking back on it, the type of things that has happened to me, and luck would have it that has happened with me. So, yeah, thank you for letting me share it.
No, of course. It's people don't value themselves enough when it comes to stories and stuff, because, hey, we all do it, I do it. But everyone's story is different, no matter what anyone's journey has been. But everyone has a different story, and it's always going to be interesting to someone else because they haven't experienced it. So, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, diving in today, and really, really do dive into that part of your life, because, like I said, it's very interesting to me, especially someone that knows really nothing about football.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you letting me come on, and I really like the concept of the show. I can't wait to hear Wilfred when he's on, and all your other guests, because I think stories, when people just literally dive in to certain aspects of the life, you get to know that person more, and it can be really interesting. So it's a great concept. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone else's.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For anyone that is like, wait a minute, we've already heard Wilfred's story. We're recording this before anything of Diving In has even come out. So that makes it even more special to me, is that, you and other people that I've talked to have been so open to doing so when they haven't even heard an episode of the show. So, I mean, I appreciate it very, very, very much. And this is your chance, as it always is at the end of any podcast episode, to put yourself over. And where can we find you on Twitter, or wherever we're finding you? And where can we find you, Luke?
You can find me on Twitter at Omega_Luke, and obviously you can find my episodes on Monday through Brainbuster Radio with yourself, Josh, as a Brainbuster brother. But yeah, hit me up whether you want to talk football, whether you want to talk wrestling. I'm always happy to chat.
Yeah, Luke is a lovely chap, lovely guy. We've I don't know how long, 5 months ago, probably 4 months ago, that we really kind of started talking. But very just a lovely man, lovely dude. And again, I think listen, this is probably the part of the show where Luke's just like, yes, let's keep talking about Luke, because I know I love talking about Josh. So again, I thank you for coming on, and that will do for this week's episode of Diving In, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.